Hello. Let me know if everything works, because today is one of these rare occasions where I don't have myself on another monitor. So let me know how that goes, and then we'll jump right into all the craziness that has been happening, because it's been fucking crazy. What a week, huh? What a week. It's been crazy. It's been absolutely mad. I've done a lot of trading the last week. I usually don't, like not these days anyway, like the lower time frame stuff, but it's been a lot. So if you want to discuss any of the trading that I've done, lower time frame wise, but I mean, it's just mostly just logic based. It's not TA based. So we can talk about that. Don't necessarily have to. And then we can obviously talk about the market, because it's in an interesting spot. A lot of people have flipped back bearish with the rejection yesterday. A lot of people are still bullish. There's conflicting theories. Banks are reeling, all that kind of stuff. So it's wild. Seda says, I traded US dollar to US dollar and made 10%. I did a lot of that as well. I did a lot of USDC to USDT trading. So yeah, it's been a week. I feel like I haven't slept in the whole week, but yeah. Anyway, let's quickly run through the Bitcoin timeframes. There's not really that much to say other than it's much better than it was just a couple days ago, but still nothing confirmed yet, right? But it's looking quite good in my opinion. So monthly time frame, right? Monthly time frame, we hit our monthly level. I'm still mad at myself for not just, like, I bought back, like I sold 25k, right? And then I bought back 23, which was basically still, like, I sold above monthly resistance and bought back into monthly resistance, and could have just bought monthly support. And we've been talking about this monthly support for the longest time. If I did that, I would have been better off. I still got quite a bit of Bitcoin and a little bit of ETH and a lot of a lot of USDC at the lows. So that was good, but could have been much more, could have been much better. But just how it goes. Hope you guys kind of took advantage of all of this too. We've been talking about this monthly level for ages, so it's nice to see it get hit like this and then instantly teleport. So yeah, if anyone took advantage of the monthly level, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. But yeah, monthly support's been good. We rallied into resistance and beyond it so far, right? Now, what we're doing right now is a little bit worrisome, but we'll go over it in the weekly and the daily time frame, right? So the weekly time frame, we obviously have 4 days left to close it, but right now we had a massive nuke below weekly support that got immediately bought back up, and then we had a massive nuke above weekly resistance, right? So that's kind of where we stand right now. This is the range. We hit range low, we hit range high, and now it's kind of struggling a little bit. Now, I don't necessarily like this range high, given how often we've tested it, but it's still resistance, right? So we need to close above this to open up the door to 32K. And given the macro backdrop that we have, which is basically a lot of faith in banks being destroyed right now, and a bunch of people are actually thinking that we're going to get a 2008 style bank collapse again. I'm not necessarily in that group, but I'm no banking expert, right? So for me, it doesn't really, like, my opinion doesn't really matter. I doubt it, honestly. I think we're gonna get like a bunch of government intervention, as we did with in America. all over the world, basically, if something goes poorly. But we'll have to wait and see, right? And that's basically like, it's a really bullish thing for crypto. I mean, that's basically what Bitcoin is made for, right? Bitcoin was born through the anger of 2008. Like Satoshi was just very, very angry at how everything's been playing out back then. And that's where Bitcoin was created. And having the same thing happen again is obviously like fundamentally bullish. A problem is, if you truly get a bank run and the bank collapse everywhere, right? That's gonna have like a little bit of like, that's gonna drag the market down. It's gonna drag everything down, and that's gonna drag like short-term Bitcoin down. It's gonna be like a bouncing ball, I think, if that should happen, as in Bitcoin's gonna recover the strongest and then go up like crazy. But that could be like a little bit of a roadblock in the short term. So best case scenario, we don't get any banking fallout. We just get a bunch of government stepping in, protecting what needs to be protected. And like, this is obviously just in the eyes of actually having a bullish market in Bitcoin, right? For the people and for the country, it's a little bit of a different story. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of bailing out the banks left and right. It's fucking annoying. I absolutely hate how that whole industry is run. Basically, just they make the money on the way up, and then everyone else takes the losses on the way down. It's absolutely not okay. But for us, price-wise, the optimum would be that we don't get a nuke on the banking sector. But we'll see. Like I said, I'm not necessarily in the, okay, every bank is going to go down camp. I get where people are coming from that are saying it, but for me, it seems a little bit much. I think we could just see government intervention, but we'll see. Very difficult to intervene in Euro banking. That is very true. It's a big advantage of American banking. It's pretty easy in comparison to all the different countries that are in the Eurozone and that need to kind of do something together, which is quite difficult because obviously every country has different views on these things. So banks are weak. Yeah, they've been nuking big time. Credit Suisse been taking a massive hit. Anyway, that's kind of the lay of the land right now. We are at weekly resistance. That's what we're battling with right now. We already had a stab above it. That didn't maintain. And now we're kind of in the situation where a lot of people are just kind of risking off a bunch because they're like, okay, the banking situation, if that gets worse, that's going to have a fallout. And you also have a bunch of people buying because they're like, okay, this is what Bitcoin's made for. So far, it's not really been moving today. It's been moving a lot the last few days, right? So the daily is fucking crazy. We went from all the way below 20K to 26K. That's a proper Bitcoin candle. Love to see that, like 3 days in a row, massive green candles. TA wise, right? Just ignoring, I mean, looking at the monthly, this looks good, right? We bounced from monthly support, rallied into resistance that's been tested before. That's a good look. The weekly, like I said, is at resistance. And then if you look at the daily time frame, this actually looks really, really good. I've seen a lot of people complain that this is like really bad, SFP, whatever, yada, yada. I disagree. This is a really, really good look. Basically, with a massive false breakdown here, back into the old range, came back all the way, broke through resistance, and we're now chilling above it. So if we get a pullback on the daily, like you could get a pullback into 23.5-ish, I think that would be reasonable. But that's just a good look. Like I don't really see where people are like getting all like bearish on the daily time frame. We've had a massive rally. A pullback of this sort isn't really out of the ordinary. So this looks really, really good to me. If we get a pullback into support based on banking fees, so be it. But I'm bullish on this for now anyway. So yeah, daily looks good. would be best the moment we close above 25K. That starts looking really, really good. But yeah, I'm happily, like, I mean, we talked about this at the lows. I bought a bunch, rode it all the way up, sold 25, bought back 23, and I'm still in that position technically. So I'm going to hold this for a while. And my upside targets, because I targeted 32 and 35K, have changed as well. I think there's more room to go with the narrative backdrop that we have. So I'm just going to hold until we get something that drastically changes bearish. Until then, I'll be bullish. So basically, if we go to 32, 35, I might trade around those levels, but I want to be in a position on Bitcoin. I don't want to have no position. So before, my bullishness was kind of capped at 32 to 35. Now I don't have that anymore. I don't really, like, this is basically what Bitcoin's been made for. And even if we get like a temporary pullback, which I'm not even sure about, this is the best narrative we've ever had. People made up shit with like inflation hedge, all that kind of garbage. I mean, fair enough, but that's just because we didn't have a good narrative. Now we have one. The biggest enemy of crypto, the banks, are getting fucked left and right. And yeah, it just makes sense to have some Bitcoin. So I'll hold, and I'll hold as long as I can, basically, as long as the chart allows. That's kind of my plan anyway. So there you go. That's Bitcoin. The altcoins just been taking massive shits, left, right, and center. ETH BTC broke down, but ETH is actually doing quite well in comparison to everything else. Not really hating on this too much because high time frame, this is just going sideways still. But obviously this week's not been the greatest, and I think that's because this narrative is very much Bitcoin centric. So we could get Bitcoin strength that doesn't translate to altcoins. So if you're in this market, that's something that you have to be prepared for. Sometimes, and I mean the good rallies, basically, the good Bitcoin rallies are the ones that Bitcoin does itself. Basically, you get a massive Bitcoin run. Altcoins take massive shits left and right on the Bitcoin pair, sometimes even on the USD pair. And then once Bitcoin's done running, you get the altcoins to catch up, and that can take quite a while. So if you're like all in stuck in altcoins, my condolences. It's not how you trade. It's not how you should be that's not how you should be trading crypto generally. Don't really know what else to say on that front. Like ETH BTC is at support, but it's a tough one. I have a bunch of ETH, and don't get me wrong, like I have a few altcoins. Like I have ETH, I have a bunch of Litecoin. That's been quite shit. Today almost down 10%. And I have a little bit of XRP. So like I have a bunch of altcoins, but that's basically just in case I'm wrong. Because my main case is still Bitcoin's just going to rally and leave everything behind. And all my altcoin exposure is basically just like, hey, there's a chance I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, I would like to have at least some entries on these. So it's easy. Like when you don't have any exposure and you're wrong to something, like for example, if you're bearish Bitcoin, you don't have any exposure and it goes from 20 to 25K, it's really hard to buy, right? But if you have a little bit of exposure, topping that up is easier, at least for me. Don't ask me why, just kind of works psychologically. So that's why I have like a little bit of fail-safe insurance. Yeah, but that's the altcoin positions. They're down quite a bit against Bitcoin, and they've been underperforming massively. And there's not really any outlier, like even the ones that do well, like Lido, for example. Like look at that. We had a massive rally on Lido, and it's actually red on the weekly in USD terms. It's been a massive red day, and yeah, that's just how altcoins go sometimes. What's your invalidation to not be bullish? So I bought Bitcoin at 16K. So I bought this here, and my new invalidation is done here. So if you go back below 20K, I'm going to be out, and I'm going to book a profit of, I didn't even calculate this, don't really care too much, of 30%. Why are they dying? Pure fear. One, pure fear. Yeah. Two, this narrative is Bitcoin specific. It's not like you're gonna hold. It's not like you're gonna hold like Litecoin because the banks are failing. That's a little bit of a far reach, right? So that's the one. But then obviously like the market's been trending down, so people are just fearful. And then also people have FOMO for Bitcoin. And in general, when people want to avoid risk, because we're in this weird situation where banks are not doing well, right? So as I said, some people are de-risking. And if you're de-risking, like if you're really worried about bank runs, about whatever, the first thing that's going to go is the risky stuff. Obviously, right? So we're in this weird situation where a bunch of people buy Bitcoin because banks are failing. A bunch of people sell Bitcoin, but especially sell altcoins because banks are failing. They're like, fuck this is too risky. I want to out. And then you have this situation where Bitcoin just goes, and I mean, it just went from 20 all the way to 26K, and altcoins cannot keep up on the Bitcoin pairs. So they go down on the Bitcoin pairs, and then people are like, well, this just fucking sucks. I'm sitting in this rally. I'm not getting anything out of it. So they start rotating, and the last one to rotate is the one to lose. So there's a few reasons. I think those are the main ones, but it's also just in general, not really, this market right now is not really retail, or like at least new market participant oriented, which is usually what does well for altcoins. And what I mean by that is basically when you have new participants in the market that don't know what the fuck they're doing, that's usually good for altcoins because they buy altcoins. When you have a market where it's mainly like sharp people trading and not really that much participation from like less sophisticated players, altcoins usually do poorly. And the reason why they do poorly is not necessarily because people sell. It's because, and this is something that you can just look up for every coin in the market, coins have inflation. A lot of people kind of tend to miss this because they're like, this is crypto and yada yada. There's no like, I'm buying this because it's not inflating away. Well, the altcoins that you're holding, good chance they inflate by quite a bit, and they like every year new coins are unlocked basically. Be that through mining, be that through staking, it doesn't really matter. So basically people are dumping on you, and if there's no new retail to buy those off of you or off of the market, well, who's buying? And so that's kind of like, that's why in the bear markets the altcoins do so fucking poorly, because they still produce like millions worth per like month that need to be bought up by the market. And in general, the appetite to buy, for example, mine Bitcoin is much, much higher than for a shitcoin that no one really gives a shit about. So yeah, it's that unlocking bullshit. Yes. I mean, it's just how it works, right? So basically the protocols and the coins are all dumping on you. And if there's not enough demand coming in from outside, it doesn't even like, no holder has to sell and the price is still gonna go down. And it can go down quite a bit, because if there's no one that's willing to buy 1 million coins a week or month, whatever, depends on the coin obviously. Well, if no one's there to buy and no one has bids, a coin can go down 50% based on nothing, basically. ETH's not dumping. Yeah, ETH's been holding strong. Today, like, it's bouncing a little bit right now, which is nice. I have, like I said, I have a bunch of ETH, but this is not necessarily like, it's not going up either. But yeah, ETH's been very, very strong, exceptionally so. So yeah, but I could still see the support break and it go for the lower one. Not entirely sure. But yeah, that's that. Lower time frames. This is what people are basically freaking out about. We had this massive breakout that got faded, and I get that. But I mean, basically what happened And I cannot believe I'm pulling this out, but it's been ages. Bull market thing, baby. But and I don't really care about the FIB retracement, whatever. Like all that is like, I'm not really the FIB guy. Used to be, I used to like it. And I think like if you want to draw nice FIBs, you actually want to do it off of the candle closes, usually works nicer, right? But for intents and purposes, for my argument, this is basically the move. And we retraced like a little bit of it, 40%. It's not that much. It's really not the biggest problem. And it's to be expected after a move like this. So that's what people are freaking out about right now. But I think the reason why they're freaking out is basically because they can feel that the S&P is spooked. People in the S&P are spooked. And we've been a little bit correlated with that. And we've also been doing poorly when the dollar index goes up. So there's a combination of things, but that's the part of it. Like we hit the range high, we did SFP, which I don't think is going to lead to much. If anything, it's going to lead to a shallow pullback that we're going to go back up from, in my opinion. Could be completely wrong on that front, and I mean, I'm positioned, so I'd make money if it goes up, so maybe I'm biased, but I don't think this is too important. The more important part was we had this range, we faked it to the downside once, we did it again with a massive nuke, and we reclaimed the range, and that's the most important part. And as long as we hold this, which is 23K, we are in the clear. It looks just really, really good. Excuse that noise. My girlfriend's sending me messages on another computer. Don, can you please review Doge? The fuck kind of request is that? It's been months since I've last heard of Doge. Do you even have it in the list? I do. Not great is the answer. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I mean, what do I say about this one? I don't know. It's been pushed by Elon Musk, and Elon Musk has been pushed into a little bit of an irrelevant corner, more and more and more. So I think it's still too high priced for me anyway. Like, basically, Doge is at this valuation because Elon Musk kept on pumping it. And Elon Musk is not as important as he used to be. And people that have bought Doge, like everyone's bought Doge, and everyone took a massive hit, right? It's quite funny, but if you think about it, like Elon shilled this really fucking hard up here, like above 0.5, right? And even if you bought 0.3, currently you're down 80%. So it's really hard to sell people on Doge, and there's a lot of backholders. So Doge is one that I would skip, even if we run into a bull market. I think there's better coins to trade. I mean, Doge's probably going to have its day again, even during the bull market, but I think it's not something that I'm particularly interested about. And just this chart is horrendous. Like, I don't have anything to say about this one. Elon has ruined it. And I mean, if it goes below 100 sats again, which is quite a bit away from here, you can get me to trade Doge again. But until then, I'm just going to be a no Doge guy. But I could be like, I'm not telling you shouldn't be touching this. You trade Doge if you want to trade Doge. Just for me personally, like a chart like this isn't really interesting, both on the USD and the Bitcoin front. And I would much rather trade other things. But then again, I bought Dogecoin at the absolute pico bottom, and I sold it for 2 or 3x. And then it went from the point I sold it at, because I bought 15 sats and I got really fucking angry because people kept front running me and I couldn't get my entire position filled. So I was basically the pico bottom on multiple exchanges for this shit. and then it pumped, and I was just upset because I didn't get even close to the position that I wanted. And then it pumped, and I sold basically like the top of that pump, and I was like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, at least I did something well. And then it pumped 10,000%, so, or almost. So you don't necessarily need to listen to me when I'm talking about Dogecoin, because yeah, could have played that one better. Made it 2x, made it 3x. In today's standards, right, when someone says, hey, I made it 2x, I fucked it up, everyone's like, fuck you. Because we've been in the bear market so long, right? But I still remember people like trash talking me left and right and center. And I mean, I get it. But yeah, is what it is. Yeah, so if we can talk about the USDC thing really fast. What happened basically was USDC depegged, and I mean, basically, I saw people shorting USDC, and I was like, "Oh, this is wild. Let's see how it looks tomorrow," because I just needed some sleep. And the next morning, I woke up and it was at 0.8, 0.87, 0.88. Like I woke up this like around here, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Like it was here basically. I woke up and I was like wondering what the fuck was going on. And then I looked into the situation, saw it run up. I was like, fuck, and it came back down again. I was like, oh, I mean, the reason why this dumped was basically because a bunch of money was locked up in Silicon Valley Bank off of USDC, and people were like, okay, that's going to be bank run on USDC next, so it's going to go to zero. And I figured that it was gonna go in a way where the money would likely be recovered, because I thought that the US government would step in, or two, even if it wasn't, they would have enough money to show it up to kind of take a heavy loss but not go to zero. Because this is not like, and I think what basically fucked over people the most on USDC, right, and this is something that you have to always think about when you're trading, is a lot of people got caught up in the UST drama, right? The failed Luna stablecoin, and a lot of people lost a lot of money in that. And so if there's a bank run, or if there's like a drop in a stablecoin, and that's kind of the context that they're coming from, because they lost a lot of money on that, or they saw this and like it left a lasting impression, they're gonna trade that way. They're gonna be very, very scared and very risk averse, and that's where you're gonna get the best trades, right? So if something blows up and then there's a run, or like something that happens with a coin that is actually reasonable, because they have, like, it's not like USDC doesn't have the money. UST didn't have the money. USDC had the money. It was just that a bunch of it was locked up. And when you have that kind of situation and people become very, very like emotional about it because they've seen it before, they took massive losses, all that kind of stuff. Then you have to kind of be like, is there actually value to be gained? Because 0.9 to 1 is actually quite a massive trade if you take it with some size. And there's actually leverage trading pairs for this as well. I actually dusted out an old account of mine on Bybit and traded this on leverage, like a part of it. The smallest part of it, but it's quite fun actually. Like it's just a tiny balance, but I want to see how far I can push that leverage account before it gets liquidated. Anyway, I bought a bunch of spot basically. I bought a bunch, like I exchanged all my stable coins into USDC, because I was like, this is an emotional response to a quite serious news event. But it's very likely that it's not gonna drop too much before this is resolved on a Monday, right? Because 0.9, like it's not gonna go to 0.5 before they even have a chance to speak, because it's way too low. Like you're gonna get a shitload of people just stepping in, being like, okay, I can risk this, because the chances of it going to zero is way, way lower than 50%, right? So I was like, I'm just gonna buy a bunch, and it ran all the way up to 0.98. I sold at 0.96, and the whole rationale behind it, right? So if this ever happens again, like I'm just running through this, I don't know if anyone even cares, but if this ever happens again, and this has happened quite a few times in the past, you can actually take advantage of it too. I'm not recommending buying every stablecoin depeg, but only buying the ones where you actually know that they have the money, right? Because if they don't have the money, you're gonna lose it all. But I don't know if you guys care. I'm just gonna go through it anyway. But so basically, the reason why I sold 0.97, like up here, and I tweeted about it when I sold it, was basically because at this point, a lot of the fear was already out of the market. A bunch of people were like, okay, maybe this actually turns out quite okay. But there was still risk, obviously, right? And the kind of gain that you can get if you kind of hold it and you want to hold it to 1 is basically like 3% here. And the chances of it pulling back, kind of giving you a re-entry, are really, really high, because usually, especially on the weekend like that, it's not going to be resolved before Monday. And this was basically Saturday evening. So it's not going to be resolved until Monday. So there's like still risk, and there's enough time for this to pull back and still be like a reasonable trade later down the line. So I sold it here. Was pretty sure that we're either going to get a pullback or just going to go sideways, because these kind of patterns, if they go back to 1, they're always going to play out like this. You're going to get a massive nuke, you're going to get a rally, you're going to get a nuke again, and then you're going to walk up, or you're going to get a massive nuke, you're going to walk up and then go sideways and then go up. So in either case, like, you just need to kind of look here on the left. You have like this 1 hour candle. Doesn't really matter though, like it's just close enough, but that 1 hour candle as resistance. You sell that and then you just wait, basically. And the reason why I didn't buy like anywhere before we hit 0.995 down here, basically, was because if I buy 0.97, we're in the same situation. Like, it doesn't really, like, percentage wise, the risk is just too great for a 3% return. But if it comes back lower, you can kind of start justifying again, because it's 0.94. That's a solid like 5-6%. And like I said, at this point, it was pretty clear that, and actually we got news that Silicon Valley Bank would be kind of acquired or bailed out. Like, at that point, it was pretty clear. And then I just rebought and wrote it all the way up here. And the reason why I didn't write it all the way to 1 or close to 1 is because at this point, if USDC goes to 0.98, right, that's so close to 1 that you can just kind of figure, like, where am I going to get more gains? Like, this is basically a major FUD piece out of the market, right? People look at USDC and they see it at 0.98. They're like, okay, this is resolved. So you're going to get more bang for your buck if you just long the market. And I also tweeted this. If you just long the market because the FUD is cleared up, you're going to get more than 2% out of that. We got quite a bit more. So basically just exchanged my USDC that I just had made like a bunch of profit on into Bitcoin, a little bit into ETH, and enjoyed the show. So that was like how I traded this. It was a little bit stressful because there was always a chance that it was going to go belly up. But in my head, it was very, very low. And you're not going to, like, I didn't expect the US government basically to allow a bank run to happen, or like multiple bank runs on all of the banks, because that was like a real possibility. And it was too real for them to just sit by and do nothing. So either they would have allowed other banks to buy this, to buy Silicon Valley Bank, which would have bailed USDC out, or they would have stepped in like they did at the end of the day. So that's kind of like the whole thing. That's how this traded. Was quite nice because you can go quite heavy, and there was enough USDC to buy, and enough liquidity all around. And yeah, that's the trade. what about lost trust? I wouldn't hold USDC anymore. I mean, I'm not holding any USDC. I've been very criticized even on this channel because I've been saying hold USDT, which is absurd, right? Like holding the coin that is flooded most in crypto has been like just crazy to people. But that's kind of been the smartest choice for me. Like it's the one that I've been trusting the most. And so far so good. But you shouldn't be holding any of those for too long. Stable coins are not really an investment. It's not really something that you should have all your money in for the long term. Doesn't make sense. But yeah, that was the USDC trade. Whenever these kind of, and in general, something to kind of remember is that whenever stuff depegs, especially like when Tether or like something trusted like USDC depegs, it's usually at lows. Like history has shown us again and again and again that major depegging events tend to be because the market went down a shitload and then people start panicking on this leg, and or like you get depegs on the smaller leg of the two, and that's usually a good buy signal. Now I've used this a lot in the past. Just make sure that you don't give back everything if you're wrong once, because I mean, if something drastically goes wrong and you're all in because you see like an altcoin depegging. So for example, is if USDT ever blows up, which I don't necessarily think that's gonna be the case. They have so much fucking money and they make so much money by just having all of this money, because you get quite the interest for your money right now. So I think they have too much to be in danger, and the business basically makes too much money for them to risk it in any other way, like in any way, like others people would. Like if you see a small exchange, that's always the risk, right? When you're trading on a small exchange and you deposit a bunch and they see like, oh, someone has like 1 million on my account, like on my exchange. In total, there's like 10 million on my exchange. Maybe I just want to rug people because I can just run away with 10 mil. Like that's like the risk that you run if you trade on something that isn't really trusted, or used to be anyway. Like nowadays it's a little bit less so, but that's kind of the market that I grew up in, where you like, I know that this coin only trades on this exchange, but is this exchange actually going to run away with my funds or not? Was actually quite the discussion to have all the time. But yeah, with something like USDT, they make so much money on the business side of things, they'd be stupid to mess it up. So I very much think they will not. But still don't tell people to have all the money in USDT, because it's just not a good idea. But yeah, that's that. The USDC trade, one of the more fun trades I've had in a long time. We talked about altcoins, we talked about Bitcoin. Bitcoin's like on the lower time frame, struggling a little bit right now. And it's a little bit annoying how we're basically a weaker S&P right now. It's not a good look, right? I mean, we're like a much stronger S&P on the way up, but right now, like in the last few hours, we've been underperforming the S&P by quite a bit. And not necessarily what you want to see, but I think if you're looking on the low time frames, right, it's basically what we're dealing with is we had this, let's do it like this. We just kind of walk up, we broke down from it. If we get back above it, I think we're going to challenge the highs again. I don't necessarily think that's going to lead to a breakout. I think there's a good chance that if we take the highs, we're just going to fade it again and be stuck in a little bit of a range. Because we had just such a big move. So I think in general, we're due for some sideways. Whether that be up and then sideways, or if that will be down, bounce sideways and creep up, I don't know. I cannot tell you. And for me, honestly, like most of the big trade was from 20K all the way to where we are right now. So now it's digestion time, and then maybe we get another one. So yeah, there you go. That's that. I don't really have much more to say about like anything that I'm watching. I think anything that you guys want to know. Do you mind reviewing Link? The thing is, right? All these altcoins are literally the same, right? They're dead against Bitcoin. Like I can show you really like the thing. Like ETH BTC, that's the one outlier that's doing actually okay. This is like Bitcoin, right? Broke all the way down. Is now trading even below weekly support. I had like this range, and I was like, if this range breaks down, you want to target at least down here. Well, we're trading quite a bit below it. Trading at monthly support right now, but it's not looking that pretty, right? This is like not a good look. That's not what you want to have. And then you look at XRP, same story here, down only. Link down only, Uni down only. This is all against Bitcoin, right? Uni's actually holding a little better than a lot. Solana down only, broke support. ADA down only, making new lows. BNB struggling, and that's one of the stronger ones. Dogecoins struggling. TRX struggling. Atom struggling. So like they're all trading the same. There's no really too much of a difference there, and there's not too much like to talk about in any individual case, because they're all doing the same thing. They're just pushing lower, and you can see that they're all very correlated. So one day one of them does better, the next day the other one does better. Yeah. So like if you ask me for a coin, basically the moment one of them is gonna bottom, all of them are gonna bottom. And the only thing that you can really watch for is relative strength. For example, whenever you see a bottom coming, you probably want to be buying Lido, because Lido has massive moves. Just a 50% move. Whenever you want to see, like you see a top forming, you want to short Lido. And you just look for particularly strength, like ETH BTC, for example, has been particularly strong in comparison to everything else. So that's probably a better bet than a lot of the other ones. And the same, like you just go through your list, you look for strength, you look for weakness, and then you look for volatility too. Like I said, Lido is one that you can trade, and there you go. And everything else is just the same. It's like you're trading the same coin. Like everyone that's going to ask me for a coin, it's all going to be the same. And they're trading all the same too. OP looks pretty decent. Yeah, OP is one of a little bit of the outliers. I would put that in a basket with Lido basically. I don't hate it, but yeah, it's tough, right? So you look at, do they have, yeah, nice. They have Bitcoin pair. So this is the Bitcoin pair. It's not like this is much different. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit stronger. So this is one of the ones to watch if the altcoins start getting a bid. But is this really gonna blow you away? Not really, right? So yeah. How useful is support in a down-only market? It depends. In the market like this right now, I don't think any of the supports are going to do more than a slight bounce if the entire market hasn't bottomed. It's crazily correlated this time around, the altcoin movements. Atom USD, sure. So Atom USD's bounced from support. Bitcoin went up a shitload. Atom USD is barely up on the week. Is that really somewhere where you want to spend your time? I mean, not necessarily. It's not the worst in the world. And if Bitcoin holds, this is going to hold too. And this could even, like, that's the thing. All of these could be putting their bottom on the USD pairs right now. But against Bitcoin, they're pushing new lows, and they need some time, basically. Should we position into Bitcoin for the next move up? Do you think it will outperform even more? I think Bitcoin's the place to be until it tops, basically. And it's something I've been saying for a while. Struggling right now again. And then, like, you see this? This is basically what I'm talking about. Like, the last 20 minutes I read, the last 20 minutes on the S&P I read. Like, that's just not what you want to see. especially given that this is what Bitcoin's made for. So that's like a little bit of a disappointment. Then again, it comes after a huge move, so this can be excused. I'm not hating on it too much, given we had a move up of like 24-25%, and we're trading basically at February 21st highs, right? And if you go on the S&P, that's probably higher. Yeah. The 21st, so I was trading here. The S&P is down quite a bit in comparison there, so it's okay, not too bad. Should I go all in after if we hit under 13k? Are you talking about Bitcoin? Because if we're going to 13k, we're gonna have some problems, my dear. So yeah. A lot of people just mentioning the altcoins. Like I said, it's not big of a difference anywhere. And I don't really have anything useful to say. I think the one thing that you need to watch is Bitcoin. That needs to hold supports, that needs to push up. Everything else is just gonna come from that. And basically, Bitcoin finishes its move, it's gonna crash, and then you're gonna see, like, once Bitcoin actually has topped, you're probably gonna see the proper altcoin moves. Anything before then is not gonna be proper. But yeah, not that much more to say. I'm sorry. I think that's enough. I'm super tired. It's been a long week of trading. It's been a good week of trading, but it's also been a long week of trading. I'm kind of happy to have a little bit time off. I'm gonna be on travels starting tomorrow, so I'll take a laptop and I'll see how much I can stream. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Cannot promise anything, but should be there. Like the Friday show should be happening still, because that's easy to do. I usually don't like recording on a laptop just by myself, because the laptop screen is shitty, the audio is shitty, everything's shitty. It kind of doesn't sound that nice. But yeah, we'll see. Anyways, thanks for coming by. Really appreciate your support. If you like this stuff, subscribe to the channel. Probably everyone has, but whatever. And like the video. I've been told that does wonders. And yeah, appreciate you guys. Much love. See you soon, hopefully.